Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Backbone podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and getting sicker. And I just wanted to share something with you today that I found interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of Bill Maher, but I think he comes under attack a little bit from both sides, especially when he admits the obvious when it comes to the Democrat Party and how insane they are sometimes. And recently, this was a couple of weeks ago, they had this guy named David Hogg. He's I don't know, he's one of these he's like he reminds me of George Stephanopoulos, like this young brash guy who just word salads everything just to sound smart, but really isn't saying much. And the topic here is why young males are leaving the Democratic Party. Now, of course, they're not going to tell you what demographic are leaving because it's young white males that are leaving the Democratic Party, and for good reason. They're getting bashed unmercifully over and over and over again. Right now, if you were a white male in the Democrat Party, you have to walk on eggshells to be around just people that you think you agree with. This guy David Hogg, he's a DNC vice chair. A couple of months ago, he had the temerity to say to Democrats that they should pay more attention to young men. I mean, he's 25 years old, I believe, 26, so he should know. They should pay more attention to young men. And party leaders reacted by calling for one of these special elections to avoid his position as vice chair. Now, Hogg appears on the Bill Maher show that we're going to show you this clip here for informational purposes, of course. He appeared, I think it was May 9th, and Hogg lamented that his party was leaving young men behind. Now, I think he's being a bit facetious here, and he's being a bit cowardly here because they're not leaving young black or Hispanic or gay men behind. They are leaving young, white, heterosexual Christian males behind. And those are the guys that, even if they don't really necessarily like Donald Trump or whoever Republicans are running against a Democrat, they're going to vote with their conscience, their wallets, and their values. I was in I was involved in politics for a little bit when I lived up in New York, and I will tell you that many politicians and a lot of political theorists, they always said the same thing. People vote with their wallets. And the second thing people vote for is with their conscience. If they see a party that is going completely off the rails, it doesn't matter what their voter ID card says, Democrat, Independent, Republican, they're going to go with the other party that they think is going to balance out how the country's going. And these voters, these young men, and I'm going to keep saying white males because that's who it is, they would rather vote for somebody who they don't necessarily agree with, but they see that the logic is there. It's like working at a great company, making great money, but your boss is an asshole and you just can't get along with him. It doesn't pay to be there. So you take the job that is not as prestigious. Maybe you don't make as much money, but at least you feel comfortable there. You're able to thrive in an environment that's peaceful. And a lot of these guys can't thrive in that environment. They just can't do it. Now, in reading an article from the New York Times, I'm going to paraphrase, of course, they had a study. They had a study where Democrats are now going to pluck $20 million towards studying this predicament of men leaving the Democratic Party or not voting Democratic as much as they used to. And what's the cause of this? Well, it's all the man bashing. It's all the man destroying. Liberal progressive Democrats have done nothing but wage war on toxic masculinity. You have to believe women at all costs, no matter what. And anything that red-blooded white American men would do, like maybe eat meat or or drink a beer, not good. You have to eat vegetables and you have to drink soy milk. No thanks. So now the Democrats are forming uh, this committee called SAM. S is in SAM, and SAM is an acronym for Speaking with American Men, a Strategic Plan, probing men as though they are some like life form from outer space. This is how they treat you. This is how they see you. They don't care how you are, how your life is going, if you're working, if you're making a wage that is that's sustainable for living. They don't care. They just care about your vote on that first Tuesday in November. They could care less about how your life is going right now if you're a 26-year-old guy. They just want your vote. Vote for me and shut up, stupid. And we hate you anyway. The report, and I haven't read the whole thing. I'm just saying I'm just repeating what I saw in the Times, is a study. They study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virility in young male spaces. Young men don't have spaces. When I was a young man, we had bars, nightclubs, private clubs, other guys' houses, garages. We didn't have. There was no place to. There was no safe space for guys. There's never any space, the safe space. And when you have guys like Gavin Newsom, who's one of the worst executives in this country, one of the worst governors, repeatedly discussing how to reach average American men, you know something's wrong because that's a guy who has done everything he can in the state of California to destroy anything and everything that was once great about that state, and it was the great white people that lived there, the conservative white people that lived there. Now, listen, it's their fault they turned. It's the people of California's fault that they vote in these people all the time, Nancy Pelosi and Barbara Boxer, and so on and so on. It's their fault, and it doesn't look like they're changing it at any time. But when you're the DNC and you put Gavin Newsom as your poster child to try to figure out why this is happening, you've already lost. He's the last guy you should be asking for any sort of help on this situation. Let's see what this guy David Hogg has to say. This is a clip. Of course, this is from Overtime with Bill Maher. This is for informational purposes. Let's see what they say.
There was the election that the DNC held, and I was the person that was one of the people that won one of the three positions that they had for the at-large vice
So
chairs.
what was your claim?
Part of the claim, so not to bore people, but to get into the bureaucracy of the DNC, we have a gender balance rule at the DNC because, of course.
Well, there's issue number one. Why does there have to be a gender balance? Why does there have to be any sort of balance at all? When is there going to be when is the scales going to tip towards merit all the way over? Why does there have to be a woman here and a guy there? Black person there, Hispanic there, gay here. Why? Why does that have to happen? What happened to the good old days when we just went after merit? And you know what? If all of them are white guys in their 30s and 40s, so be it. At least things would run right. Because things aren't running right now. I mean, even Trump's cabinet, that Kash Patel is a disaster. But let's get back. Let's get back to David Hogg over here.
Yes, we do.
Equal
And-
protection.
Okay.
And-
See, right away.
Tea, drink your
By the
tea.
way, the Republican Party does too.
Right.
If the chair is a male, then the vice chair has to be a female.
Well, what's interesting is that's even more progressive than our vision, which is that the chair doesn't count towards the gender balance rule that we have. Frankly, I don't even know if it makes sense for us to have the gender balance rule anymore in this day and age, because I want to focus on whoever's just best at the job.
Great.
At this point, that's my own view.
Terrific.
And, you know,
And what happened to those days? And listen, this guy here is, I think he's like 25, 26. He's pretty young. I think he just said something that that hits to the core of this issue. We don't go based on merit anymore. We base everything on identity. You have to be black, Hispanic, gay, woman, certain religions. But God forbid you're a white Christian heterosexual male. We can't have too many of those. No matter how bright they are, no matter how innovative they are, we cannot have too many of those because they're dangerous. And it's not diverse. We need diversity. Poppycock.
By the way, I support what you're doing with respect to the primaries, because I can tell you, having been in politics for quite a while, I started as an intern for McCain, some of these people don't know when it's time to go.
They don't.
Chuck
So if this guy was an intern for McCain, and he's a congressman from New York, so he's even though he might be labeled a Republican, he's not even a rhino. He's basically a centrist Democrat. So if you work for John McCain, you're automatically considered a war hawk and a rhino in my eyes. But this guy isn't. He's probably a war hawk, which all Democrats are, but he's more center Democrat than he would ever be Republican.
Chuck Schumer has been in elected office for 50 years. 1974, he was first elected. 50 years. AOC will absolutely kick his ass in a primary. She is the leader of the Democratic Party in this moment, and will continue to be, I think, the biggest driver of where the party goes from a governmental policy standpoint. And that drives many of my colleagues crazy. But the fact is, she has tapped into the base of support within the Democratic Party. And you see the juxtaposition between.
So he's simping for AOC here. Now, there's two ways to think about this. And I don't think he's smart enough to do the first part. Sometimes, and Machiavelli wrote about this, sometimes if you have an opponent, like a political opponent, and you want them to run a weak candidate that you know has no chance of advancing to a higher office, you play those people up. So this guy's playing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is a mental midget to the third power. And he's talking her up. He's simping her up. Oh, she's great. She's the leader. She's this, she's that. If he was Machiavelli, he would be doing this to get people to vote for her, put her in power, as a trick, and destroy their party from within, from her terrible leadership, which would happen. If she's the face of the Democratic Party, they're finished. They're absolutely done. They have no chance of winning an election with that woman as a face. She is as dumb, and her district is where I used to live. She is the dumbest thing you'll ever see in any type of political discussion. She cannot, and it's just a shame that it's come down to this, that we vote in these people that have absolutely no experience or merit or just brains. But politics has gotten so dirty that people with good, smart people don't want to be involved in this anymore. And so that's why we get the bottom dwellers. I think it was Aristotle, Plato said, if smart people don't get involved in politics, they put in stupid people. I'm paraphrasing that. I'm butchering that one, but I'll look that up for you next time. But The reason why good people don't want to get into politics is because it's so dirty and so petty. And there's no and the money aspect of it. You have to draw in a lot of money. You have to sell your soul. That's the only way you'll get donors. And if you're true to your convictions, if you don't believe that the United States should be assisting certain countries like that slither of desert in the Middle East that the United States always supports, if you say that you don't want to support them, you have almost no chance of advancing in politics. None whatsoever, especially if you're a Democrat. Forget it. Or Republicans. I went to a Republican, I don't want to say rally, a Republican town hall meeting at my small little town here. And the first thing this guy said was, and you have to remember, I live in a small town in a small county. The first thing he says is, I support Donald Trump, I support lower taxes, and I support Israel. And I'm thinking, what the hell does Israel have to do with anything? What the hell does Israel have to do with me? Why do I give a damn about Israel? How's Israel going to assist my kids or your kids or anybody else's kids in here? It's just amazing. It's sad. But the white flight is real, and this is about white males. Make no mistake about it. In order to, and Reese, of course, is barking. In order to, you kidding me? Shh. In order to win any sort of election, national election especially, you need to have young white males voting for you at least at 50, 51 or 52%. If you don't, you have no chance of winning. And the DNC is going to have to look at their policies and examine why these guys are leaving. And I'm telling you why they're leaving. They're leaving because these policies are geared too much towards women, gays, and minorities. There is no policy that says, you know what, we're going to help white guys out with loans. We're not going to have affirmative action anymore, or this DEI crap that's holding white people back, white males back from getting into the schools that they've deservedly should be going to. They'll never do that. And that's why these white guys are going over to the Republican Party, because Trump is telling them he's going to do that. You cannot bash the hand that feeds you. And white Christian heterosexual males, and I know I repeat this over and over again, are the hand that feeds this country. They work more, they save up more, they spend more. They're still the most powerful consumer demographic in the world. And every time they turn on the TV, they see a commercial with a white woman and a black man, having all this great fun. And then the next commercial will be some fat white guy who can't control himself with his eating habits, or he's a slob, or he doesn't know how to dress himself, or he can't take care of his own children. They're mocking him. When I was growing up, there was no mocking of white men. White men were the shit. The Marlboro Man, Clint Eastwood, John Wayne. Even the guys that came up later, Al Pacino. I mean, nobody fuck with him. Tony Montana. I mean, the masculine roles he played. I mean, it was masculine. The world was masculine, and it was better. And the reason why these young guys are running towards the Republican Party, I say they're running towards the Orange Party, is because of the orange messiah that's there. They see Trump as a masculine, strong leader. Whereas on the DNC side, you look at Newsom, you look at this guy Bashir in Kentucky, you look at some of these other leaders like Tim Walz in Minnesota. These guys are as effeminate as all hell. They are basically chicks with dicks. How could you take them seriously? Look at this guy we did the story about yesterday, Macron. He's a disaster. He has a 72-year-old woman smacking him around in front of the whole world. This is why men are moving more towards the right. We're seeing this in places like Poland. We're seeing major rallies and marches in Italy and in France now, where these guys are sick of this immigration and this weak leadership from Brussels, from the EU. And we're seeing it here in this country. Now, the question again goes, do you have to like the guy that you're voting for? And the answer is no. A lot of people probably didn't agree with Ronald Reagan's conservative policies, where it came down to religion and gays and all this other stuff. But they voted for him because he was good for the country. They didn't care about that other stuff. How are you going to keep more money in my pocket? How are you going to keep job growth in this country going? That's what's important. That's the only thing that's important. Protecting the country, moving the country forward economically. Everything else is just leave it to the states. Who gives a shit? You don't have to like your leader. Trust me, a lot of people hated Julius Caesar, but they loved him when they won. Now, of course, the Ides of March 15th, he got stabbed in the back, pardon the pun. Well, that was because he was too powerful, and the people loved him. The masses loved him. But think about any coach. If you played sports, think about the coach that was hardest on you. You hated that son of a bitch when you were playing for him, but when you won, you loved him. Right? Look at Parcells. Look at Belichick. Look at Pat Riley, Vince Lombardi. Those guys ran their players into the ground, but they were right and they won, and that's when you get the respect and the admiration and the love in that field. And Trump, we'll see if he is right and if he will win. I don't know. He has way too many enemies in his party and in the other party. But men think logically. This goes to show everything that we've been talking about. Women think emotionally. Oh, the poor migrants, the poor gay people, the poor trans people, we have to help them. No, they're not important as the country is, as the country moving forward is. The defense of the country, the economic development of the country. Migrants hurt all of that. The gay issue is just superficial fluff. Nobody cares. It doesn't make society better. And the encouraging thing about this is maybe these young men are starting to change the way they think. Maybe they're starting to change the way they behave. Maybe they're starting to get together, which could be a dangerous thing. But maybe they're getting together and they are trying to change the society that they live in. Because we all know, and history tells us this, and it's batting 1,000. When men change, especially white men, when they change, society changes. When the white shift happens, society shifts. It's happened over and over and over again. And we've had moments in history like we're seeing now where things are just absolutely crazy. Again, I always refer to Goodbye Berlin, a book that describes the madness of the Weimar Republic. You read that book, you're not reading about 1920, you're reading about 2020. Now the shift there was extreme and depending on who you talk to, dangerous. But the shift was real because those white guys got together. And as I said, 10 guys in a room turns into 100, 100 turns into 1,000, 1,000 turns into 10,000, and all of a sudden you have a party that is taking 33% of the vote, and now they have power. And we're seeing that shift. We might be seeing that shift right now. We might be seeing that shift all over the Western world, because we're seeing these, we're hearing, we're reading, we're seeing these events, these protests, these marches, Black fatigue, Jewish fatigue. We're hearing all these trigger words. And it just goes to show that you can only push people so far. Now, there's no man memo tonight. I just wanted to, I've been meaning to get to so much stuff. It's almost like I can do two shows a day, which I might try to do. I just can't write my man memo that fast. But I wanted to get this out to you. I have so much other stuff that I want to get to you, so it's going to be like a week or two late. But I think it's still relevant to right now. This was very interesting to me. The whole male flight in the Democrat Party, and make no mistake, it is white flight. But let me know what you think. Do you feel the shift happening? Are you one of these guys that has left the Democrat Party? Are you voting for Trump even though you don't like Trump? And it's okay, because as a man, you have choices. You have variety. Yeah, and you have to vote with your logic and your conscience, and you have to do what's right for, if you have children, of course, you have to think about them when you vote. Many people don't do that. Democrats certainly don't, and women absolutely do not. Women think about the children they don't want to have because they vote for abortion. If you support abortion, they'll vote for you. That's the sickness. That's the hell within women. All right. So as I said, there's no memo tonight. Thank you again for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Be careful, gentlemen. Satan is always busy. Be a man. Have a backbone, because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. We'll see you later.